Okay, remember that I have 23 witnesses on record, and they've witnessed things like the fact that people who are trying to prove that certain races are superior, okay, that these people are sabotaging me, they're changing my speech patterns and the sound of my voice. So this video is a response to Elena. I hope I got your name right. First of all, I do not doubt that the IQ test means close to nothing, and that an average of 10 to 15 points difference on the IQ test means close to nothing. For example, the average IQ is 100. The average IQ for the entire human race, I'd imagine, is what they're getting at. It's 100. So the average person is basically an idiot. You should see on the screen that it says the IQ test helps people, it shows their aptitude for, reasoning and problem solving, what have you. Not just because someone can reason better than someone else relative to a test, again, relative to a test on paper, which is key here, or on a computer, doesn't mean that that person has better reasoning skills. For example, if I was a hustler in the hood and I saw a white person walking down the street and I ambushed him in terms of ambushing him with questions, hey, you got $1, this, that, and the other thing, the average black person from the hood would respond better than the average white person in society. If I made that the intelligence test, then I would think, hey, that black people on average are, smarter than white people. You see what I mean? So when it comes to familiarity, that's part of why even AI noticed that the IQ test doesn't measure overall intelligence. Again, the IQ test does not measure overall intelligence. Say it with me. The IQ test does not measure overall intelligence. It's right there on the screen. Your point has been shot down. What it tends to show, and I score very high on the IQ test. I score within the category of genius on the IQ test, mind you, but I don't consider that proof that I'm a genius. I consider my martial arts greatness, my ability to win arguments like this, things like this. I consider that proof that I'm smarter than other people. No offense. You came at me in a somewhat polite way, but your point was very rude and was very ignorant. But I'm trying to educate you. I'm not trying to pick on you with this video. I'm trying to help you see your error and that you're contributing to an oppressive system of white supremacy by propounding despicable falsehoods. You're propagating lies, and those lies actually hurt people, and they cause people to be indifferent to the suffering of other human beings to the point where 9 million people starve to death every year and die of hunger-related issues, including 3 million children. Because of people like you who argue that other races are just playing the victim card, people are actually being massacred. Let that sink in for a moment. So, we see that in Western systems, they study certain ways, right? In a lot of places, people don't have good schools. They don't have good school equipment. Look how much money Americans spend on the school system, and Greeks, and in English, and French, and on Scottish, and on and on and on. Now compare that to how much money Africans spend on their school system. Do we expect that when a test was originally designed to show how well you're going to perform in school, okay, that people from Western countries who are disproportionately white, I'd imagine, right, we're going to score higher than people who are of color all over the world, including in those Western nations where their school systems are not as good, and the environment, like the Flint water crisis, like the asbestos in the air, like the air quality in the ghettos, that these things affect their performance and cause cognitive impairment? Yes. And we would expect some slight discrepancy, key phrase, slight discrepancy on the IQ test? Yes. And that's what we see. We see that white people have something like 10 to 15 points higher on the IQ test. That's peanuts. If you score 115 instead of 130, okay, that's a slight discrepancy. If you score 130 instead of 145, that's a slight discrepancy. I know people who have scored in the high 140s, and they're not that smart. They don't have existential intelligence. They don't understand why we're here. They act like idiots. They say stupid things like, who created God? Who created God? God is so powerful that he created the idea of time to begin with. Everyone knows that, but they still say these things. And they think that they're smarter than other people. They resort to playing stupid about things that matter most. Martin Luther King, who had a PhD, said that the ultimate measure of a person isn't what they score on the IQ test. That's not what he cited. He said where they stand in times of conflict and controversy is the ultimate measure of somebody. And it has to do with wisdom. We see in the Bible where wisdom has to do with moral wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, not how high you score on an IQ test. And the highest form of intelligence is moral wisdom. Have Westerners, and white people in general, for the most part, have they come together to exploit the world and hoard money? More than most races, if not all? Yes. Is that smart? No. Righteousness is greater than wealth. For example, when Epstein was locked up, was he like, it's okay, and he didn't care because he's rich, right? No, he did care. He killed himself. Even though he was rich, he killed himself. And you don't have to be locked up to be doing time. I would argue that white people are in a mental prison, and for the most part, they're aware of it, generally speaking. And they're aware of it. They're aware of it because it's in their Bible. And a lot of their nations are predominantly Judeo-Christian nations. England, France, America, Canada, you name it. So in their own Bible, it says you're better off being righteous and poor than sharing plunder with the proud. It says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get to heaven. Some people will say, well, that's because rich people know better. They don't. That's why in Luke 1, in Mary's song, she said that God sends the rich away empty. In James, it says it's the rich people who are oppressing you, not the poor. You think they're talking about people who store riches in heaven? No, that doesn't make sense. Is Christ represented, with a fancy outfit on, with lots of money in a palace? No. And Christ as a character in the story says that as well. He said, you did not come to see some rich guy with fancy clothes when you came to see John the Baptist. You came to see a prophet, not a rich punk who thinks that money and the IQ test makes somebody smart. That's retarded. And when you're citing the IQ test, you're citing the arguments of rich, racist, white people in some snob social club who sabotage everyone else and say, well, I think it's fair. What do you think? No offense. I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying that to help you understand how stupid your argument is. Because I know by what you said and how you said it that you're capable of seeing your mistake. But you're not saying that to the people of color. You're basically saying, well, there's more to it than genetics, but you've been playing the victim card, and the problem is you're not so smart as a group. My father's a brain surgeon. I have a college degree in IT, a very difficult degree to get. And I have a top martial arts challenge that shows that I'm the top martial artist. And martial arts are about cultivating mental development, mind, body, soul, and spirit, which includes mental development. So I'm the smartest person where it matters most on the planet. And I don't prove that with the IQ test. I proved that with my top martial arts challenge, because before people could even read in their societies, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of years before that, who was more naturally intelligent was proven through single combat and sparring, because people trained for war. They trained for hunting, and these things would determine whether you would live or die, and they have everything to do with the point of life. Now, modern warfare is a different story. They didn't train for tens of thousands of years to shoot a gun, to fly a drone. Little 18-year-old girls can do that. And I'm not saying that females are dumb per se, but the point is the pinnacle of intelligence is in a black person. I'm mulatto, but from my father genes mostly. Okay, by looking at me and looking at him and comparing me to my mother, you see that right away. And that it would have to be in a male, because that's how we evolved. We evolved for males to be smarter than females at the pinnacle, but not across the board, because of martial arts. That's how the human brain evolved. The human brain didn't evolve so much with science or with computers or with guns. It evolved with martial arts. So whoever's smarter than who, okay, excuse me, they're feeling me right now, making it difficult to speak. To make a long story short, how we know who's smarter than who is martial arts because of how intelligence evolved in the first place. Thank you.